As we hopefully come to the end of another phase of the conflict in Sri Lanka, it is the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the north that we will have to turn to. And clearing the north and east of landmines will be an essential part of this process. The 4th of April each year is Mine Action Day, but mine action does not only mean removing landmines from the ground, as this public service announcement shows.
Clearing the mines.
Educating the people.
Helping those who survive.
Lobbying for a complete ban.
Destroying stockpiles to prevent the impact of landmines in the future.
These are the 5 pillars that support the humanitarian mine action program. Tarika spoke to 2 civil society activists to commemorate Mine Action Day 2009.
Well, it's the 1st of April, and in 3 days' time it will be International Mine Action Day, a day particularly relevant to Sri Lanka given the 30-year war that we have been fighting. Can you start, Prasanna, by giving us an idea of what International Mine Action Day is exactly and how it's relevant to Sri Lanka's current context?
Sri Lanka is running a very good humanitarian demining operation with the total ownership of the government. And we last 2 years, I think we have celebrated with the state sponsorship the 4th of April. And as advocates of banning anti-personnel landmines from the world, especially in Sri Lanka, we are trying to get the government to get on board with the treaty.
The fighting has intensified after 2006, and there have been allegations of landmine use leveled at both sides of the conflict. How has the further monitoring of contaminated areas and demining procedures progressed since 2006?
It has some considerable positive signs about the entire mine action program, because when the conflicts going on in areas, that area obviously we know that it is not open for the normal civilian traffic and even for the agencies to do the operations. So during the time in eastern province in 2006, the operators find it difficult to work in that area for obvious reasons. Now in 2007 and 2008, the government has given the land for clearance in the eastern province. And I think, according to the information, they have almost reached more than 90% of the clearance, and they are in the verge of shifting their operations to the northern province, especially the Mannar. I think they will start clearance in Mannar area recently.
Now, the Sri Lankan government has shown repeated support of the UN General Assembly resolution for the universalization of the mine ban treaty, but as yet hasn't acceded to it. Can you give us some insight on what may be the reason for this reluctance, if I may call it such, to sign the treaty?
What prevented government from all this time is that if the weapon is available with the non-state armed groups, and they have the upper hand of using it against the Sri Lankan government soldiers. So that was the main reason why the government was not becoming a party to the treaty. I think, in my opinion, now this is the right time for the government to think about acceding to the treaty.
Now, shifting the focus slightly, Prasanna, you have been working closely with Bernard, who is with South Asia Small Arms Network. Now, Bernard, can you tell me what the connection is here between the landmine issue and the proliferation of illicit small arms within Sri Lanka?
The major understanding is now this is a cross-cutting issue. Now, for the development, for the human rights, for the environment, everywhere, the small arm issue become a cross-cutting issue. Then, therefore, we always collaborate with the landmine groups to deal with this issue. The major point is, now in Sri Lanka, the prevalence of small arm is not quantified yet. It's not officially quantified. The government has released a report, survey report, but in that report also they didn't comment on how much is available. But it is a general understanding there is a huge amount of illegal arms circulating within the society. Our main focus is, including the landmines, how to deal with this type of a situation.
Okay. Do you feel that there's any correlation between the 30-year war that we have been fighting and the prevalence of small arms in society?
Yes, definitely. Because the one fact is always the illegal weapons, the legal weapons become illegal. Then in a war situation, the government and the other non-state actors are piling huge amount of weapons. When the war spread to the other areas, these parts become proliferated to the civilians' hand.
So is there any kind of legislation that bans small arm use in Sri Lanka? Or?
Yeah, that unfortunately the present law is passed in 1917. That is actually 96 years old now. In 2006, the cabinet has approved the new legislation, but still it didn't come to the parliament. One of our major advocacy is to take this, the law as a national priority and legalize in the parliament.
Now, Prasanna again, according to the Landmine Monitor, which you yourself drafted, there's an estimated number of 1,150 survivors of landmines and other exploding remnants of war. What sort of mechanisms are there in place to take care of these people in terms of medication, in terms of rehabilitation?
In Mine Ban Treaty, we even when we reporting and when we work on the ground, we don't take landmine survivors as a separate section. We don't segregate landmine survivors, and we take the entire people with disabilities as a whole and report about the activities, country situation. So in Sri Lankan situation, we have about 1,400 landmine casualties. Out of that, 1,100 similar numbers are living as victims, and we don't have specific programs for them. And there are some areas like in Jaffna, there are some the funding for war-related victims. From that, there are some agencies, local NGOs who have supported some landmine survivors. And in Sri Lankan situation, the disability is another area we have to seriously take into consideration, because we have a national policy, we have a national law, we have an act in 1997, and still we have not come to any legal binded mechanism to look into the grievances of disabled people.
Why do you think that is?
It's the lack of, it's the political will. I mean, if the state has a will, a real, the concrete commitment to give support to the people with disabilities, to take them into the mainstream development activities, there are enough opportunities. That's why we are campaigning, we are advocating with the government, the decision makers, to make it happen faster, not sooner than later. So we have to have a system in place, a mechanism to support, get the people with disabilities and their families into mainstream development.
Landmine survivors belong in the community. Let's make sure they feel that way.